Mr. Snerdley, what did I tell you yesterday? Can you turn on his microphone in there so that he can address the audience? Is that possible without going? Okay. Just want to get something out. And by the way, on health insurance, it seems like everybody's forgotten that we're talking about insurance here and not full-fledged coverage of everybody's health care. I'll get onto that in a minute here, folks. But first, we are living in really, really, really dangerous times. And I made this point back last November. People were getting worried that Trump seemed to be very close to Obama, seemed to be very accommodating of Obama, seemed to be very complimentary of Obama. And now we've got the WikiLeaks dump here on the CIA, Vault 7. Folks, we are in the midst of dangerous times like you cannot believe. And Donald J. Trump is the target. Now, I had something I wanted to point out yesterday, and I didn't. I was so absorbed yesterday in the minutia of detail that a couple of things I refrained from saying, didn't refrain, I just didn't get to them, were hard, fast opinions about what Trump was really trying to do with his allegation that Obama had wiretapped him. Because the way this is playing out is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful, the way this is playing out. It's brilliant maneuver on Trump's part, whether he intended it to be or not. Now, Mr. Snerdley came in here before the program, about an hour before the program yesterday, asked me what I make of all this. And that's when I first ran by him the question of, is it reasonable or unreasonable to think that this could happen? But then, what did I tell you? What did I say to you?
You said that you believe that Donald Trump was fed up with the lies coming at him from the Obama people. This was a shot right back at Obama. You want to dish this stuff over here? Take this.
Okay, exactly. It's exactly. And I want Mr. Snerdley to tell you, so that you don't think I'm making up something I said yesterday for post-facto brilliance. I want you to know that the brilliance was here yesterday. I just didn't say it. And the theory that I articulated to Mr. Snerdley was, when everybody was, what the hell is Trump doing? Oh, my God, Obama tapped. I said, look, what I think Trump's actually doing is saying, you guys want to lie about me and this Russia stuff? Well, here's a taste of your own medicine. And I'm just going to fire something right back at you. And so he fires back that Obama is bugging him, that Obama bugged Trump Tower and all that. And look what that has wrought. It's fascinating. Greetings, my friends. Welcome. Rush Limbaugh here at 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. So I think now that so many things have unfolded here, and I'm going to try to unpack this in some chronological sensible manner today. You know, this foundation, this for this narrative that the election was stolen, that the election was hacked, that the Russians worked with Trump to affect the outcome of the election. Isn't it fascinating now that after Trump accuses Obama of wiretapping him, that now all these people say, what do you mean? There's no evidence of that. You can't say that. Where are you getting that? There isn't any investigation like that. There's no... And so what Trump has forced these people to do is essentially withdraw their narrative. They're out there now claiming that Trump doesn't know what he's talking about, that there isn't any kind of investigation like this. Essentially, not using those exact words, but they're now, in order to defend Obama, they're saying Trump's crazy. What investigation are you talking about? There was no wiretapping of Trump. Oh, there wasn't? There wasn't any wire. Well, then how do we know what Trump said on the phone calls he made to these presidents? How do we know all this stuff the media has treated us to about collusion? What about all these leaks from the deep state that contain detail, everything you want to know except the source identity? If there's no investigation, if there wasn't any way Obama could have tapped Trump Tower because no such thing was going on, then how does any of this other stuff happen? It's entirely possible. And I must confess that I have thought this, I haven't articulated this either. because I didn't have anything to back it up other than my own thinking. But it is entirely possible that the Democrats made up this entire thing about the Russians and Trump working together to affect the outcome of the election in order to create the investigation that they are now denying is happening. I think that they expected to win. They thought that Hillary was going to win this in a landslide. And when Hillary lost, I think they had a plan B, but nobody really took it seriously because plan B was predicated on Trump winning. So they didn't give it a lot of credence. But the moment the election was over, that this meme that Trump had been working with the Russians had been filtering throughout the campaign. There'd been allegations here, allegations there because of the WikiLeaks dump of the Podesta emails, and they were trying to tie Trump to that. But when Trump won the election, here came the full-fledged narrative that Trump's election was fraudulent and unjust because he had worked with the Russians to hack the election. By the way, in the WikiLeaks dump today of thousands and thousands of documents from the CIA, do you know what is included? A little program called Umbrage. And in this, what this program is, apparently the CIA has the ability to mimic Russian hackers. In other words, the CIA has the ability to hack anybody they want and make it look like the Russians are doing it. Or make it look like the Chicons are doing it. Or make it look like the Israelis are doing it. They have the ability to do this. They have the ability to mask and mock various other state actors and make it look like. So I think because of everything that we're learning here, that the danger that Donald Trump has faced ever since he won the election is greater than we've ever known. And it is obvious to me that this whole business, well, as I say, obvious. I mean, I'm leaning toward being near certain that this entire pretext of Trump working with the Russians to affect the outcome of the election, folks, it is so ridiculous. The Democrats have to know, and they have to have known all along, it didn't really happen. There isn't any evidence for it, and nobody has come forth in all these media reports. They've found not a single source that can confirm this, because it didn't happen. But that's only the pretext. The allegation is what permitted this ongoing investigation of Trump and, say, of Michael Flynn and whatever else was going on. But once you establish in the minds of the media and in the minds of some in the public that the election was fraudulent, that somebody tampered with our sacred electoral process, and that it might have been Donald Trump himself working with the Russians, why, then the doors open wide and everybody wants you to get to the bottom of it, which is exactly what the media and the Democrats want, the American left, the establishment, exactly what they wanted, a pretext to have a never-ending investigation of Trump. All the while, I think they probably knew that there was nothing to the actual substance of the allegation. And in fact, the longer it went with no proof, the better. As evidenced by people like Thomas Friedman. Yep, there's no evidence. That's why we must investigate. It's a serious charge. If it really happened, we've got to find out. We've got to get to the bottom of it. And that opened the floodgates. That opened the doors of possibility for the establishment, the CIA, the deep state, the Democrats, the media, to have a never-ending the FBI, to have a never-ending investigation of Trump and his campaign and of his presidency, of his administration, of the people in it. And it's exactly what we're watching now. A never-ending investigation of every Trump appointee or nominee. An attempt to stop as many Trump executive orders as possible. Now, it's going to take weeks or longer to understand all the implications of the data in the WikiLeaks CIA dump. But one matter is abundantly clear to me. Someone who really supports Trump is trying to counter what's happening to him. There's a whistleblower somewhere. I don't know if it's another Edward Snowden, but somebody in there has leaked these documents to WikiLeaks. I mean, folks, 8,000. It's called Vault 7, and it's going to take a long time to go through all of these. But it looks to me like somebody who supports Trump somewhere in the deep state is trying to impede and impugn the integrity of all of these investigations. And at the same time, I think whoever did this, if it's one person or many, whoever he, she, or they are, there's no doubt in my mind that the Obama administration reputation is also under attack here, because most of what the WikiLeaks CIA release contains is what the CIA has been doing during the Obama years, specifically 2013 to 2016. And you throw Trump's weekend tweet into this that Obama was hacking him. I want to go back to something I said yesterday about the FISA court and these warrants. When it comes to national security warrants, it's entirely possible that Trump has seen them. His Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, could go get the applications. Now, no FISA warrant, to my knowledge, has ever been made public since the FISA court was first begun in the Carter years in 1978. I don't think any of these requests, these warrants, applications for warrants have ever been released. But somebody in any administration can go look at them. They're precisely in the executive branch, and the president and his attorney general would have unquestioned access to them. So I find it fascinating that Trump's allegation is timed in such a way that maybe somebody's actually seen evidence that such a request was made to wiretap Trump Tower or Trump personally. But if you look at Trump's weekend tweets, the CIA leak to WikiLeaks, or the dump to WikiLeaks about the CIA, is even more and more curious. The timing is exquisite. Now, given the pace of technology, pretty much 100% of the tools, i.e. hacking efforts, hacking programs that are in this document dump, have been developed and deployed during the Obama administration. That's what's fascinating about this leak. Now, not all of them, but the focus is 2013 to 2016. That's the Obama years. These are tools created by the United States government to surveil your iPhone. One of the programs turns on the microphone of your Samsung Smart TV and turns it into a bugging device. You never know. You turn your TV off, but the microphone stays on. Not that you're being bugged, don't misunderstand, but the program makes the same thing with your iPhone. The CIA, according to this dump, has developed a little hacker program that turns on your microphone and keeps it on when you think the phone's asleep. Same thing with Android phones. Same thing with Windows, Microsoft products. I mean, these are extensive tools to spy on people, and they were created and perfected during the Obama years. Some of them were started prior to that as well. But the point is, none of this was shut down during the Obama years. It was all expanded. It was all improved. The infrastructure must have had approval from somewhere high up the executive branch chain. Now, the CIA is also extremely independent, and they got people in there that could be doing this with knowledge only of the director or the deputy director. These are things that we don't know. But common sense, intelligence guided by experience, can point us in some really intriguing directions. And the section on umbrage, as I say, at first glance, I haven't had a chance to pour through nearly even 5% of this. But this umbrage section of the leak defines a method for the CIA to make attacks look like they originated from the Russians. They have found a way to essentially emulate Russian hacks, either from the KGB, the RBG, the Russian government, various other Russian hackers. It's a wide variety of people. The CIA has found a way to make it look like it's the Russians doing the hacking. Isn't that interesting, given everything we've been told about the election, that the Russians hacked the election, that the Russians did this, the Russians did that? So far, we don't have any evidence the Russians did anything, but we have all kinds of supposition that the American deep state is deeply involved in whatever sabotage is being conducted on the Trump administration. But the evidence the Russians were involved, nobody's got it. Everybody runs around and talks about it as though it's a fait accompli, but there isn't any evidence. If there were, the New York Times and the Washington Post, CNN, you name it, would have published it all. But there isn't any. In fact, the stories they run make it clear that there still isn't any evidence. But that just means we need to keep investigating. The implications of the CIA being able to make their hacks look like the Russians, you throw that in the mix of everything else that's happening now. We're living in very interesting times, very dangerous times, folks. The establishment of this country, whatever you want to call it, the ruling class, is desperate. We're living in times they never thought possible or didn't consider likely, and that is somebody from outside their group being president, being vice president, being secretary of state, being secretary of commerce, being attorney general. This kind of thing, this is such an assault, and it's got them in a state of panic. There's much more to this. No, folks, what I'm saying is this. For the last how many months, we've been reading and hearing about the investigation. You know it as well as I do. They're the investigation. Into what? Into Trump and the Russians colluding to hack the election to screw the highly deserving Hillary Clinton. Then Obama is the recipient of a Trump bomb. Trump lobs in an allegation that Obama bugged him, hacked him, wiretapped Trump Tower. The immediate reaction from James Comey and that's silly. There's no investigation. Obama wouldn't be. What do you mean there's no investigation? There's no investigation? None of this has been going on? There's no substance to it, and that's why Trump's tweet is wrong, because there's no investigation? They're backtracking. They may not even know it. Hi, welcome back. It's great to have you. Rush Limbaugh behind the golden EIB microphone. Donald Trump is doubling down now, as he always does, on the allegation that Obama wiretapped him. He's doubling down on it, and these are, here's the thing about Trump. Whether it's what he says about things going on in Sweden, after time passes, it always turns out that Trump is onto something. With something he says, alleges, accuses, reports, it always ends up that he's far more right than he's wrong. So he's doubling down on this now, as he always does. And the media is having kittens again. They just can't believe that a president would say things like this. And I go back to yesterday and ask the question, is it reasonable to suspect that it could happen? Given all of the wiretaps, we know, we shared the data with you yesterday, that the Obama administration has conducted. All of the surveillance on the AP, on James Rosen at Fox News, of Angela Merkel, the evidence is clear that the Obama administration were surveilling people in this country and all over the world. So is it more reasonable or unreasonable to believe that Trump would be a subject of this, especially given all the reporting since the election about the quote-unquote investigation into Trump. If there's an investigation into Trump, wouldn't you think that an investigation into Trump might consist of some surveillance? Is it reasonable or unreasonable to think that that would be part of it? This is where I think these people have taken it too far, and it's now about to boomerang on them. I mean, I'm talking about the intelligence, deep state sources to the media itself. And it's actually, if you separate all this from the genuine danger that this portends, it's fascinating to watch. And because now I'll give you an example. The media and the rest of the Democrat Party they can't handle Trump's allegation that Obama tapped his phones. Now, this is the same media and the same Democrats who've been saying for months that the Trump campaign was being investigated. Proudly saying it, happily reporting it, sharing with us statements by unnamed sources, American intelligence sources, American intelligence operatives. We don't know who they were. They were never named, but they apparently were all over the place. And they were feeding the media transcripts of telephone calls that Donald Trump had made. How'd they get them? Somebody had to find them. Somebody had to be surveilling those calls. Yeah, could have been a Trump employee who was a rogue. But it doesn't deny, and it doesn't refute the allegation that somebody's spying on Trump. They've been proudly bragging about their investigation. They have been saying for months that the Trump campaign was being investigated by the FBI for ties to Russia based on intercepts. The New York Times, we pointed out yesterday on January 20th, actually referred to wiretaps in their headline of the story that day documenting the latest intercepts. And in that story, they had to include, as they do in every one, it was a paragraph way down deep in the story, but the paragraph said, there's no evidence that Trump's done anything, that anybody's been investigating Trump. There's no evidence for anything because all of this has been manufactured. All of this is a stratagem, folks. Because when you get down to it, and I firmly believe this, every Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, Chuck Schumer, you name them, they have known from the get-go that the Russians didn't hack the election outcome. They know they lost the election. Now, some of their militant base, the average ordinary American lunatics that vote for them, I'm sure they believe it. But the people spreading this know full well it didn't happen, that it's a distraction, that it's a diversion, it's a technique to continue this investigation. Comey has now come out and said there was an investigation. Once Trump lobs his allegation that Obama was wiretapping him, Comey, who testified before Congress that he would never make public the facts of any FBI investigation, including what they were doing with Hillary or the Clinton Foundation. All of a sudden, Comey, who says never, ever would I ever go public with the details of anything we're investigating, comes forward and asks the DOJ to tamp down what Trump is alleging because it didn't happen. Wait a minute. If it didn't happen, how do you know? Could somebody produce the FISA warrants? Could somebody produce the evidence? Could somebody in any of this produce a scintilla of evidence to back up everything or anything they're saying? Nobody does that. It's one of the most amazing periods of time we've been through. There isn't a scintilla of evidence to back up anything that's been reported. And yet Trump all of a sudden decides to get in on the game. And so he lobs his own allegation and throws it right back in Obama's lap. The media and the Democrats are outraged. How dare he? This is the president of the United States. And Comey comes up. There isn't any investigation. Whoa. There isn't an investigation. Yeah, there's no reason for Obama to be wiretapping anybody. There's no investigation. Oh, really? Where was this bit of news back in November? Where was this bit of news last week? Where was this bit of news on Inauguration Day? It's just, you remember last month's Michael Flynn scandal? My good buddy, old pal Andy McCarthy at National Review came up with the simplest way to get to the bottom of whether Flynn, in that wiretapped phone call with that fat Russian ambassador, the NSA was wiretapping the fat Russian ambassador. And so Flynn's on the phone with the guy. So Flynn's overheard in the supposed wiretap of the Russians. And McCarthy said, look, release the transcript of the call. Don't cherry pick it. Release the transcript. Let us hear if Flynn actually promised to lift sanctions. Well, they haven't done that. Flynn's denied they even talked about lifting the sanctions. The Russian guy might have brought it up. Flynn didn't say one way or another. Flynn should not have been forced out of there. He was because he didn't tell the truth to Pence, but he didn't do anything structurally wrong, just like Sessions has no business recusing himself from anything. McCarthy said publish the transcript, but nobody wants to. Nobody wants to reveal. If they've got slam dunk evidence, why don't they show it? If they've got slam dunk evidence, why is that part of the New York Times story? If they got slam dunk evidence of all these allegations, well, they don't. That's the whole point. They never have had, and they were never going to get any because there isn't any. This whole thing is a pretext to conduct an investigation that never ends, to keep the Trump administration under the suspicion of a huge cloud with nothing as a foundation for it. Now we're in the same exact position. James Comey wants to prove the FBI is innocent. James Comey wants a DOJ to come out there and say that there's no investigation. There's no wiretap of Trump. Well, let's see the FBI's 2 requests for FISA warrants. Let's see why the first one was turned down. That's the reporting. All of this that we know has been reported in the drive-by media. Nobody's making this stuff up. Every bit of what we know has appeared in the New York Times or on CNN or in the Washington Post. All it's been missing is any evidence. So let's see these FISA warrants. The first one in October that was rejected in June that was rejected because supposedly it involved Trump and there wasn't any evidence to back it up, so the judge denied it. And let's see the one that was granted in October. I know FISA stuff is classified, never been released before. What harm can it do here? Remember, Jeff Sessions and Obama can see it. They can go get. If Trump is doubling down on this, you have to wonder if they know, based on the FISA warrants that were requested during the Obama administration. Now, Glenn Reynolds at Instapundit, he's also a law professor at the University of Tennessee, has a hypothesis. It is this: the spying on Trump thing is worse than we even imagine. And once it was clear that Hillary had lost, and it would inevitably come out, the Trump-Russia collusion talking point was created as a distraction. They created the Trump-Russia collusion as a distraction to get everybody, this is his theory, get everybody looking at that so that they wouldn't find out what they've actually been doing is investigating Trump. And now Mr. Reynolds says that that's being rowed back, R-O-W-E-D, rowed back because the talk of transcripts supports the spying on Trump storyline. Transcripts of phone calls, transcripts of X, transcripts of Y. The media is reporting on transcripts. What transcripts if there's no investigation? What transcripts if there are no wiretaps? What transcripts if there are no email bugs out there? And he points out that the rumors being floated about Trump are now being retracted. And once everybody from Comey to Clapper has denied that he was ever under investigation, future leaks will come pre-discredited. That's another Clapper He's on Meet the Press on Sunday. I can deny that. He was asked by F. Chuck Todd, Obama got a wiretap for Trump? I can deny that. Comey, that isn't true. DOJ, you go out there and tamp it down. That isn't true. Why? Well, because Trump was never under investigation. That's what they're saying. If Trump's never under investigation, what the hell have the past 5 months been about? And it's in this little mixture today that we receive the news of somebody leaking a bunch of CIA data to WikiLeaks. Dangerous times in the United States of America. Back after this.